Hey, good morning, everyone. Hey, good morning. Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning, folks. Hello in the back. Good morning. You just, we'll get into that conversation later, but sorry to interrupt. So, good morning. My name is Jim Harpering. I'm the town manager here at the town of Indian River Shores. I will get outside of this podium. I know that due to my great stature, it's really easy to see me from the back row. So, I just want to let you know a couple things. First, thank you very much for being here. It's very important. This is happening statewide as a result of state law, all the septic to sewer things that are going on. And it's very important for the town council, our staff, and thank everybody for being here to make this process go first as smoothly as possible, and secondly to keep everyone here that's affected informed as much as possible. Again, my name is Jim Harpering, the town manager. To my left, who'll be speaking in a little bit, I'll have another PowerPoint, is Rob Bolton. He's the utilities director for City of Vero Beach. We have Mike Foreman here, one of our engineers from Kinley Horn, who's helping us out with the project. And I do want to also recognize our town attorney, Pete Sweeney, our Do Everything assistant deputy town manager, finance director, Heather Christmas in the back. And I also want to recognize City of Vero Beach Councilmember Carol. Thank you, Councilmember Carol, for being here. We appreciate it. So just going to run through some information real quick, and at the end we'll be available to answer any questions you have to the greatest extent that's possible as we sit here today. So House Bill 1379 is a comprehensive legislation that was passed by the Florida Legislature in 2023. It didn't just affect the Indian River Lagoon, but a major part of it was addressing different lagoon and estuary areas, and one of which was the Indian River Lagoon, and of course we are in the Indian River Lagoon area. HB 1379 establishes new prohibitions on septic systems within the Indian River Lagoon watershed, and that includes the town of Indian River Shores and associated areas. That means as of the effective date, no new permits would have been issued for any septic system. As of January 1st, 2024, unless previously permitted, as I just mentioned, no new systems will be permitted as statute. Now, 1379 also includes a deadline, and this is kind of coming to our relevant and salient portion of this discussion. A deadline for residential or commercial properties with existing OSTDS, that's on-site treatment and disposal systems, septic systems. And let me pause for a second. This will be available online. We can have copies for you, so anything that's in this PowerPoint or Mr. Bolton's PowerPoint you can have. This is being recorded, so you can go back and look at it later. But you have to connect. The law requires that you connect to central sewer where it's available by July 1st, 2030. You may hear a lot of discussions about this piece relative to other jurisdictions, not just in Indian River County, but the numbers and the volumes are extremely large. We're fortunate because we have roughly, I think, 145 in our town, but you can imagine exponentially what that looks like, not just in Indian River County, but across the state. So this is a major point of emphasis in municipal governments, political subdivisions, counties, municipalities, and so on. Now, the town, through Ordinance 570, which was recently passed, and through our comprehensive plan, provides for the consolidation of the OSTDS, which are septic, into central sewer by July 30. So essentially what the town has done is essentially ratified the provisions of HB 1379, which is state law. We couldn't counter that. Those requirements, so we ratified those. Keep in mind that the comprehensive plan had that as a goal historically. So that is something that the town has had as a goal. So in addition to the sewer installations, the project contemplates the rebuilding and repaving of Beachcomber Lane and Pebble Lane roads with the installation of stormwater curbing. These paving projects have been a plan for some time. We've had a couple of road surveys over the last few years. We completed Indian and Seminole Lane, the roadway in Pebble Beach. These are all town-owned roads. These are the responsibility of the town, municipality to maintain and upgrade and keep operational. So very quickly, and we have some copies up here, and Mike, our one of our engineers from Kinley Horn, later on, when we're completed, we actually have some stickers. If you want to come up, if you happen to know roughly where your septic system is, you might need to come up and ask. The city is very good at finding, we know that, but you live in that house, you're there, you know where it is. So, and also, we'll have some informal time to chat afterwards as well. But if we look at the Pebble Lane project east here, you can see that the inside, you see Pebble Lane in green. If you look at those red lines on the outside, EXISC existing, that's existing right of way. That's where the actual town right of way exists at this point in time. So, in theory, the town can move out, essentially anything that we want to do, paving or otherwise, to that existing right of way. However, what we're going to do is, if you look at the yellow line inside, that's the area that we're going to expand to. Mike can comment a little further later on the exact amount of distance that's outside of where we actually are. It's not, clearly, it'll be a wider roadway with the Miami curving in to help us with the stormwater management and maintenance. However, we're not coming close to moving into what we could relative to the existing right-of-way in the red. Try to contemplate, sort of your concerns and people that I've talked to about this project, but that will be the best function for the town, the residents relative to the actual paving and stormwater piece for the roads. Looking at Beachcomber, Beachcomber also is a town road. Beachcomber, the end of Beachcomber contains the only town public beach access with, I would say, close parking. We have a second easement that we own, the town does, at the south end, in between Surf's Edge and Pebble Beach Villas. There's no parking there, per se. We have public parking here in the town, and a lot of people do park here, walk across the street, and use our public beach access. So that's the town's major public beach access. I note that because it's very important for us for a variety of reasons that may not seem necessarily relevant at first. First and foremost is for the public purpose. But associated with that public purpose, which is access to the beaches, is an item associated with getting funds or potential reimbursement through FEMA or DEP, and they often look at the amount of beach access and public beach access that you have, not just the residents and the private beach access. But it's very, very important for us to maintain that beach. Now that road is in not great shape. It's number one on the hit parade to get redone anyway. We were going to repave these roads nonetheless. In light of HB 1379, the council and our respective staffs felt it was best to cooperate with City of Vero Beach on the septic and sewer piece at the same time we're doing the roads. That way, they don't have to be torn up a second time or at times that are not concurrent. So we're going to be doing these projects concurrently with the paving and the septic and sewer piece. But again, I would note the red lines are the existing right-of-ways for the town, and those right-of-ways are the town property, essentially. Additionally, and these are also in these packets that you can get and that you can see that we have for you. Additionally, at the end, one of the things that we're going to do is we're designing a cul-de-sac at the end of Beachcomber. It's a public beach access, it's a public road. Right now, there are exponential issues with turning around down there, not just for people that want to stop, drop their stuff off, go across the street and park, and then come back down to go to the beach. But really for anyone that drives down that public road, whether it's a landscaper, an ambulance, one of our med units, or somebody who's lost or whatever. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that cul-de-sac at the end with a turnaround. Of course, we'll have signage. There's not going to be any parking there or anything like that, but we'll have signage to try to make sure that people don't abuse the fact that we have this turnaround there. And similarly, we'll be putting in the Miami curving, and the yellow line is going to be where we come out into the existing right-of-way. So this is a prospective timeline. Anyone that's been involved in anything from having tile put in your bathroom to doing a major construction project knows that these things vary, but we have not just aspirational goals, but actual literal goals in terms of the time frame. So we will be completing the engineering by the end of this year. Permitting and potential revisions regarding the permitting will take place in early 2025. The RFP, which is the request for proposals, that will be issued in the spring of 2025. The RFP is basically the document that we put together with the City of Vero Beach, with our engineers, and we issue it really, I guess I could say worldwide. It goes out through a system, and we issue that and get requests for proposals for the construction project and for the septic and sewer project. They'll all be done in its entirety. Then we're hoping for construction to begin in the summer of 2025 with completion in the fall. So for that portion of the presentation, does anybody have any specific questions for me? Yes.
What is the width of the line?
So,
How much between yellow lines on each color?
the width of the actual roadway, Mike?
So it'll be 10 or 20 feet of pavement, and then those curves are 2 foot wide, so it'll be 24 feet, a little bit.
That red line
Yes.
is how far is that from the existing road now?
I don't know.
I think we're at about, I mean, we're not at 22 now, and this is just speculative,
We're
right?
just shy of 22 now, it's like 19 there, 19.
So, I think you could extrapolate a bit. I don't have those exact measurements, but it's the amount that we're not going into in the right of way that we could is significant. We're trying to minimize it. Discussions occurred, like, do we put a sidewalk because that's the main beach access? Do we do different things with striping and stuff for safety? We're trying to minimize the impact on the residents on Beachcomber while also fulfilling our municipal obligations and trying to make sure that it is accessible and that people don't get jammed up when they're down there.
How does that compare to what we have now? What this way is?
You're talking 2 feet each of the road?
It's not a significant amount. It's not like we're suddenly like 5 feet on this side, 5 feet on this side. Nothing.
So the 2 feet right will come from each side and then 4 feet on the side?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, 2 questions. One is the curve. Its purpose is to direct the water that's running down the road. Is that how that's going to be built? So it funnels the water that runs from the top of the dune down to A1A?
Correct.
Okay. And have you seen success in other curves that you put in that it does exactly what you're saying?
Yes, so there's 2 things. It actually allows water to travel more efficiently.
Right.
And it also provides tank support for the road, so you don't have the tension
Okay.
in asphalt. Correct.
The other question I have is the natural gas needs keep saying that they're going to put in natural gas at some point. Is this effort being coordinated with that, or are those guys on their own?
I would say essentially they're on their own. Keep in mind that those types of installations tend to be with directional boring. In other words, we're not going to be tearing up the paving in the streets that we do now.
So we potentially could have the natural gas much sooner than the efforts to redo the road.
Yes, well, they are, let me put it this way, they are not interconnected at all.
Good. Okay.
Is the sewer, the final sewer, the solid sewer, is that coming into the road?
Yes, everything is being done at the same time.
Okay, so what is basically going to be lost by the homeowners?
We'll get to that generally with Mr. Bolton, with the city. That relationship very generally, because the City of Vero Beach is our water provider, that relationship is with the City of Vero Beach. But we're very grateful to the city for working cooperatively with us because we have these paving projects that we're going to do one way or another. And of course, the providers, and I understand the environmental importance of it, have this really oppressive timeline to get this septic and sewer stuff done. So we're really grateful to the city for working with our timing, and we're moving our paving schedules up a little bit so that you don't have to have the roads, which are going to have to be redone anyways, torn up on more than one occasion for one thing. But back to your first point on the timing, that pipeline again is completely the gas is completely unconnected.
And based on, I read the document, the 1379, because I want to see what the real requirements were. What you're required to put in, I presume, is real sewer, not step system.
That's correct.
It's a full sewer system. So it won't be this phase, or not phase, but 2 separate systems. One where you keep the solids and you turn the.
And this probably a good time, if I just pause, this is probably a really good time to turn it over to Mr. Bolton. He'll pull up.
At the end of Pebble Lane, there is, I don't know, if it's a small cul-de-sac or something down there, but the water accumulates unbelievably long down there. I mean, anytime it rains, there's a 6 inches, a foot of water down there. Is there any idea of putting a drain out there or down there, or?
So there is, we identified the low spot in the survey, and we're actually working on correcting that grading strategy. So we don't, right now, I don't have a need to put in like a specific drain. I can grade it at a time.
You can grade it with that out.
And sir, back to your very first point, we did this exact same project on Indian and Seminole Lanes, and on Pebble Bay Estates, over on this side. We put the curbing in. Feel free, those are guys who are public roads, feel free to go in, take a look. In fact, we had a ton of rain, recently. Go in when it rains. And I'm not here to sell this project at all, but I can just tell you we've received nothing but favorable responses from people in those neighborhoods who are experiencing like those same kind of things in certain areas. The grade is real bad and never been resolved, and that's what we're hoping to do with these, to give us some really good lifespan on these roads. Again, I want to thank Mr. Bolton, Rob Bolton, for coming over. He's a very busy individual, so I'm going to turn over the control stick to him. And thank you, Rob.
Good morning. Stand back here.
Rob Bolton, City of Vero Beach Water and Sewer Director. Thank you, Jim. I think that was a perfect presentation on the roadway and everything else. Quickly to give an overview, Jim is correct in everything that he talked about going from septic to sewer. These two streets actually are probably the only two streets that would get a gravity sewer system, just because the magnitude of the cost of the road reconstruction prohibits those types of systems really from being put in. That's why the city has gone to a step system. You'll probably see step systems in some of the other streets that have either been reconstructed recently or just trying to tie into the existing gravity sewer system on A1A is prohibited mainly by the drainage system that DOT has in place. So these two streets are prime candidates for a gravity sewer system. Gravity sewer system will be more expensive than a step system. But right now what I would like to do is kind of go through the process so you understand how the system would be put in and how the cost would be associated per lot, and then the legal process of assessing the property owners to recoup those costs. Up, down, there we go. So under a sewer assessment project, there's a certain amount of steps. First, we'd like to say that we are actually going to be doing the design with Kimley Horn. So they are actually they've done the survey, I believe. You've done the preliminary layout. We will then look at the property layouts, the home layouts, finished floor elevations to make sure that your lines coming out of your house to your septic systems will actually get to the street with proper grade and be able to tie into the sewer system. The project will be advertised and bids will be received through the same process. There'll probably be one set of plans. They will go out, as Jim said, with an RFP for a proposal. The price will come back in. At that time, we will prepare a preliminary assessment roll. And when I say town council, that means I kind of wanted to say we would have whatever meeting here. I think it would be in the benefit. We're not sure exactly. We've never done a assessment process with the town of Indian River Shores. We've done it with the county before. In that case, we can go out and do the assessment roll. We're still checking on the legal side of whether the town council accepts the assessment roll, or if the city council of the city of Vero Beach would do it. But either way, we'd like to have the meetings here. It's easier for the homeowners to walk across the street than it would be for everybody to go all the way over to Vero Beach. So at some point, we will receive bids for the project. We will then very simply take the total number, the cost for the gravity sewer with whatever force accounts or contingencies that would be in the bid, and divide it by the number of lots. That's the fairest way to assess properties because you're all receiving the same benefit. That way it doesn't matter what the width of your lot is, the length of the lot, and some are on a cul-de-sac, so they would pay less than the others along the run on a corner lot would pay more. So what we've done in the past with all gravity sewer assessments in the city of Vero Beach, it's simply the total cost divided by the number of lots that would be served with the sewer system. That would then be sent out to the homeowners. You would get a formal notice from the city of Vero Beach with the assessment roll and what your cost would be. We would then have a public hearing where the homeowners can come in with concerns or approval or whatever feeling you want to show up and, say thank you or, tell us that it's too high. You can do whatever you want at that point. Okay? And at that point, the assessment roll can either be adopted, it can be changed if we've applied for grant funding. I don't know what that grant funding, if it's going to happen or it may not happen. We probably will know by the end of the year, so this project will move forward. If we get grant funding, we will apply that to the cost to lower the cost. Or the project, if everybody comes in screaming and the town or city council decides, nope, we're not moving forward, then the project stops at that point. If it progresses and moves forward, then the construction would occur. The construction would be completed, and then we would adopt a final assessment. The final assessment cannot be more than the initial assessment that we sent you originally. A lot of times we'll have contingencies in these construction projects, so the final assessment is lower or the same as what we originally sent you in writing. That's more or less the process. Like Jim said, it's going to take time. So you would probably see, I think what did you say, bidding next summer? So we would have the assessment roll next summer. And then, once final construction, the final assessment will come later because you always have punch list items and contractors back and forth to fine tune and make, final repairs that usually last 30, 60 days past what we consider substantial completion of a project. Once the final assessment roll is done, we will send notification to the property owners. They can come in within 90 days and pay it. Or we've done in the past where we do 10 yearly payments and whatever the interest rate would be decided at that time. Who knows what interest rates are going to know between now and then. Right now I've done some high level, really high level, and on the screen you'll see proposed, and I've scratched that out and said estimated so that nobody thinks that's what the proposed cost is, because these costs will be either higher or lower when it comes time to what you receive in the mail from us next summer. But just from a high level standpoint, I talked to a contractor earlier in the week, and they had just bid a project. I'm not saying that they were the one that received the project, but we looked at what the cost of sewer installation that's roughly 6 to 8 foot deep. Some of it may be 6 to 8 foot deep, some may be 4 to 6 foot deep, which would lower the cost. I just did an estimate based on 6 to 8 foot deep. So for Beachcomber, you're looking at a tie-in out on A1A that we have to go out in the pavement, direct traffic around it, install it with what we call a doghouse manhole, where we would go down over the top of the over the sewer line, cement the bottom in, and then cut it open so that you could then extend the flow up Beachcomber. So that manhole alone would probably cost $50,000 to construct it. Right now you have 4 other manholes that would be needed. They're each $10,000 a piece. The cost of an 8-inch gravity sewer running down the middle of the road is $125 a linear foot. Because I don't know where your septic tanks are, I noticed there's a lot of circular driveways, so, you know, you may have two systems, depending on how old your house is, if it was added on, what went on, you know, over the life of the house. So we looked at putting double services pretty much at every property line. That cost can go down if we know there's common connections on a lot line and others that aren't needed on other lot lines. So right now that has 18 double laterals in it. There's 18 homes. However, one is connected by step system, and so we cannot assess him because he's already receiving the benefit of sewer. So you would have to divide the cost of that. The cost for Beachcomber would have to be divided by 17, not 18, which puts you just under $20,000 for the assessment part. I talked to a local plumbing company that just bid some projects for connecting up in sewered areas. So it costs to abandon the septic tank, run from your house out to the street, fix your sprinkler systems, resod the property, and some minor allowances for any type of vegetation that you destroyed. You're looking at about $6,500 per property. And then we have impact fees for sewer connection of $2,290. So your total cost is roughly $27,000. You'll hear step system. Step systems probably, if you were to run step system in this area, you're probably looking at a total cost of $19,000 or $20,000. So for another $7,000 to $8,000, you're getting a gravity sewer system versus step system. Hold on. Yep, go ahead.
What are the requirements on the homeowner for the existing septic system after it's mentioned? Is there a process that's required by the homeowner?
The $6,500 included them pumping it out. They'll crush it in place, more or less. They'll bust the top in, bust the sidewall, and then they'll fill it with dirt. I've only had one person in my entire career that actually asked the contractor to completely remove the tank. So, and it was very expensive. But that's the process, really.
What if somebody opts out and decides not to do it? How does that change the cost of that person?
So when you have the public hearing, it's either everybody's in, it's all in. So what we used to do, and most of the ones that we've ever done at the city were voluntary assessments. People wanted to run a water line. So they would all go out, talk to each of the neighbors, and they would kind of do an informal survey. Everybody get a signature, and then if the signatures were over 51%, then we would move forward through the process. In this case, because of the time, it's not an informal, we're just going to move through the process, and everybody will make the decision at the time that the numbers truly come in.
Based on 1379, I didn't think there was an option.
There's not an option anymore. So your option is if you don't put any sewer in, you have to completely tear up your yard and put in a new nitrogen reducing system, which is probably going to cost you the same as a step system, which is $18,000 to $19,000, and you're not going to have a gravity sewer system.
Based on what I read, it's within 10 years, all of this
Yeah.
has to be done.
Yeah.
On the entire island.
Right.
So this is required. In fact, my personal view is it should have been done all the time. This should never be done.
Hey, well, if you look at Beachcomber and that, they're the oldest streets. I think they're really the first streets in this town. So.
I just want to note that the town itself has very few, and as
Oh, very little.
They're clusters in just a couple of areas.
Yeah.
Really. And so
Yeah.
I think that the people here that have come in have been pretty prospective about wanting to get onto the sanitary sewer. But to your point, you are correct. There really is not an option.
Yeah, Pebble, I think right across the street, Beachcomber is the oldest ones in the town. I think Pebble Lane and all that was really Indian River County, then annexed by the town in the 80s or so. So it was another area that's very old that...
How did these assessments, let's just use 26K, How do they compare to what you've done in other areas along A1A, et cetera? Are these assessments relatively accurate in comparison to your previous jobs? They're much higher, much lower? You understand the question?
They're very, like, I would say you would really want to compare this to what we did with Tulip Lane back in '05. And you're going back 20 years now. And the numbers are very comparative to that because with Tulip Lane, we had to reconstruct the road and the costs were still lower. But I can tell you right now, I was talking to somebody yesterday morning and they just opened up bids to do a gravity sewer project in Brevard County, which was, you know, the gravity sewer and the road reconstruction all at one cost, and the people were going to be assessed $80,000 of property. Yeah, so in this case, your assessment, so that was just the assessment part, not the connection charges on the lot and everything. So you're looking at 20 versus 80 is really what you're looking at. Theirs included the road, where in this case, the town is paying for the road through theirs. That's why it's the perfect opportunity to put gravity sewer in right now. Yeah.
So is that east Tulip we're talking about, or west?
West Tulip.
That was on the one that was on the water.
Right.
Not anymore.
Right. So, and the reason I bring that up too is from a construction standpoint, we'll look at constructing it the same way. You're a dead end road. So I can't put gravity sewer down the middle of the road. Nobody can get in, nobody can get out. So in Tulip, we put gravity sewer down one lane, and I can't remember where I looked at laying out, but I think it'll be the opposite side of the road of where the fire hydrants are. That'll be the easiest way for you guys to go home and take a look at it. Because that way you still have one lane of traffic as the sewer laterals or sewer line is being put in and the laterals are going on. People can still, ambulance can get by, the mailman can get by, everybody can still get access down, up and down the road as long as we have it sitting in one lane. If I got it in two lanes, you're not getting in, you're not getting out. So it provides a, and we may offset it, it'll be in the center of that lane, it may get offset a little bit more to the edge of the pavement of that lane depending on how his road work layouts are and where his catch basins and everything else for drainage is going to be. Pebble Lane, pretty much the same concept, but you're looking at a little, I think it was a little less because there's nobody on sewer. So you don't have that factor of you're dividing by the total number of properties that are there. And I think because there was 3 oceanfront homes, that also lowered the number when you look at the total project. We can't combine them. We have to do assessments based on each project area. So, but they're very close, within hundreds of dollars. So.
So if there are opportunities to combine them, would that reduce the incentive cost?
The construction, I can't really combine them. That's what I'm trying to say. I can't, because they're so far away from each other. We'll look into it from a legal standpoint, but typically we usually do things road by road.
I don't think the math on Beachcomber is correct.
I think it divides by 17.
I'm just looking at this summation here, this assessment, the lot cost impact here, it comes to more than 26,000.
Yeah, that may not got changed when I did the number up top. Yeah. 26, 8, 27, it may be the 27. Yeah, that number's not right.
Did you count the lot at the lot that abuts A1A on the
Yes.
as one or two lots?
There was 2 empty lots, I think, on Beachcomber.
Well, it's a big area, so I don't know if you counted it as one or two.
I probably counted it as 1. Is it 2 or is it 1?
Yeah, the one that's currently, empty.
Yes.
And I don't, is it 2 lots or 1
It's
lot?
one lot, and
It is 1.
Yeah.
There's another lot on the other street.
Yeah, but those lots are massive.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that it's just, I didn't know how many lots you counted. One lot?
I counted it as 1 when I looked at it. Like I said, these numbers will be different when you get in.
Okay, so that is a good question, because as the town knows, that lot at the end of Beachcomber was rezoned for commercial. And there was or is that considered an A1A lot now? Because it's a commercial change.
The sewer would come off of Beachcomber, because he will not be able to go in and tie into A1A because there's no lateral there. So we would provide a sewer connection on Beachcomber.
Now, there's no home here now.
Even though there's no home, the vacant lot will be assessed.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, on both sides.
Yes. Yes.
Out of county also?
Yes. I believe there's 18 lots on Beachcomber. However, 17 would get assessed. And the reason these numbers are wrong was I had it originally divided by the 18, and then as I was driving to work this morning, I was like, oh, there's somebody connected, and I quickly rushed in and changed that before I came to this meeting, so.
You mentioned possibly down the line, agreements or other,
We are successful in getting grants. I don't know how successful we will be this year. It's all politics. So in the past, we were able to get some grants, and then this year, Brevard and Indian River County got a lot of grants. Brevard got really slammed with this session, and they didn't get much funding of stuff. And so I don't know how things will work out. And some of the grants were cut from what they were in previous years. But we did put in a really good grant package, and it was for all step system, all gravity sewer for the entire service area. So, the benefit that we put in would be around $5,500, maybe a little bit more depending on how it would work out with the numbers. But that's what we were looking at, was a benefit of about $5,500 per property. So, yeah. Yes.
the numbers that you have for some of them,
Hold on. It doesn't matter the number of drain fields. So if you had 2 drain fields on each side, that's what I was trying to say, we would look at putting double lateral lines to both property so that if you have to come out of your back of your house and run to one and then run to the other, now what number would go up would be that lot cost. That lot cost would go up and maybe double in price because you're coming out twice. You're abandoning 2 septic systems. The assessment price wouldn't change.
right now, I have 2, and I have a pump that goes from one to another. Would that be one, or?
You could leave the pump and just run one, or you could do away with the pump and have it all flow gravity so you never had to deal with the pump again.
And that would change the only.
The lot cost.
And it may go.
What's that? It may double depending on how far the distance is and everything else. Yes.
I was going to say, so the lot cost, that's a variable cost for each individual property owner.
Right. But the person that I talked to just did one for a bunch, bid on a bunch of them. And like I said, his number was around 6,000. I put 6,500 on just because there's probably more landscaping here than there is in the area that he was talking about. Yeah. But that was sod, fixing sprinkler systems, and all-in cost. A lot of times you'll get costs that don't have sod, don't have sprinkler systems, and then you got to add to that.
So back in the envelope, if I get a quick back in the envelope, back in the envelope, if I wanted to pay for the entire system, but I want to do over a 10-year time frame, it's about $3,000 per year.
The lot cost would not be part of it. You could do the impact fee and the assessment, but the lot cost we can't finance over time.
Okay, so
Right.
that's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
So there would be an upfront lot cost, but then you can do the math.
You can do the other over a 10-year period.
So 2,500.
Right. Correct. Correct. Right. Yes.
Is there one particular road that's going to start first, or is it
That would be up to them.
We're trying to minimize costs, and as Rob noted, the town is trying to accelerate our rotating projects, so you all don't have to pay for it, it's not part of the cost. We're going to try to mobilize, we're trying to do everything concurrently. In other words, we're not scheduling, Beachcomber first, go to Pebble. A lot of that, certainly as you know, Tom, there's a issue with the engineers and construction folks in terms of that, but our best hope is to do that concurrently, so that actually will be done quicker, in the totality.
Yeah, it'll be a crew that does sewer and a crew that does road work. So chances are they're going to pick one road and go do the sewer and then move to the next while they're being the road work. So, and to your thing on gas, I would ask the gas company to hold off, because all it does is complicate the installation of the gravity sewer and the road work if there's gas present.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so hopefully they would wait and hold off until after the road work is done. Yes, sir.
The other two streets in the Tony development, Reef and Turf, Turf's gonna get the specs, and I guess Reef's gonna do the repaving. Is there any schedule for that?
Not yet. Nothing defined. We're actually looking at starting engineering potentially, but we're just, in other words, I don't have a prospective schedule for that in the same way I do as Beachcomber and Pebble. However, we are actually now starting to plan to lay out some timeframes and make sure we fund that particular piece of it.
Whatever's in STEP would probably just get absorbed into our STEP program that we're doing to run out into the rest of the county area that we serve. It would just get part of those projects. Now, if he has another, repaving project, we would be going through the same process for that.
I have two questions. One is on the drainage. We talked, you're going to take 2.5 feet, 2 feet, 3 feet, whatever, off each property. You'll come back and then fix those fibers in?
Yes. So, right now we're showing, constructing a 5-foot apron on your driveway just to harmonize traffic system.
So you'll come back and do the grade back down where it was and all that? Okay. Second question is that at the end of Pebble, we've got a house being built, monster house, and there's big trucks that are coming up and down that road all day. And I don't know, I know Tom is here and he can speak to it, but I just don't know whether it done that. The problem is that you've got landscapers, you've got garbage guys, you've got everybody else that's on that road, and there's no room if you take one lane out for these guys to get their large vehicles through. I'm just curious, is there any thoughts about, timing this a little bit better as to when this house is completed?
Well, I would say this, I'm aware that I've spoken to the homeowner, and I certainly know Tom very well. I've spoken to the homeowner on a couple of occasions about the process, and the reality is the timing is driven by the totality of the process being done concurrently to try to save costs. For us to delay timing-wise, I think it would be adverse to the project in its entirety. I can only say that we have talked about maintenance of traffic and what we're going to do, the timeframes that the people are going to be convenient, and that's just something that we're going to have to, of course, our engineers, our construction people, the town, the city, we'll all coordinate with whatever's going to be happening down there in terms of timing. But the reality of it is the importance of doing the project concurrently at the same time with this timing is regretfully going to overweigh that singular concern. But that doesn't mean we're not going to consider it, because as I said, I don't want to delay an entire, paving and engineering road project, for that singular piece. But I spoke to the homeowner and we'll coordinate to the greatest extent possible.
So Tulip Lane, to go back to that, there was 4 homes being reconstructed from hurricane damage when we put the sewer in. We also undergrounded the electric. We also undergrounded the bell tel lines and the cable TV lines all at the same time. It wasn't fun. So I was called more names than anything else. Yeah.
I was talking to Mr. Dalton here. Out on A1A, there's free land out there. There's places for people to park. And no one wants to walk. But possibly, if there's a way to have maybe landscapers or whatever, park their vehicles there in order to keep anything off the road. So,
and understanding that concern at the time, of course, we have our public safety personnel, we have our public works personnel. We will, of course, as I mentioned, manage the traffic on that piece. We're trying our best to communicate with everybody on the streets, and that's one of the things we'll do relative to timing. Hey, guess what? You won't be surprised when, a grader comes behind your road and starts to tear it. And we're going to try to do that communication so that you can then communicate that to the vendors, especially I know the landscapers come usually like once a week, especially in summer and so on. So we're going to coordinate that as best we can. The reality is there will be inconvenience. There's no doubt about it. There'll be probably an inconvenience for homeowners construction projects, this client. There'll be an inconvenience for everybody involved. That's unfortunately the reality of the project. If I said otherwise, I just might be wrong.
Plan your
We'll do the
vacation.
best we can.
Plan your vacation the summer of 2026 to the fall of 26. Is my best advice to you after living through these.
Yes, sir.
When we did service 3 years ago, one time I counted 15 trucks on the road.
Yeah.
It is inconvenient. The good news is though, it's in the summer, so there's not
Right.
much traffic.
Yeah.
I would really try to keep that summer.
That's definitely our goal.
I have a question. In regards to the lot cost, now is that going to be the responsibility of the property owner to hire a contractor to do that?
Plumber. Yeah.
And can the homeowner do it himself? Can he-
That is a permit question to the town. I don't know how that works. Each entity has different requirements.
But to tie into the 8-inch main line,
That's all going to be done. So the 8-inch line will be brought up. There'll be a 6-inch line at the corner of each property with a 6x4 connection. So you'll have a 4-inch connection at each side of your property lot is what's proposed, unless I can eliminate some depending on common septic systems. But that's what we're proposing at this point. So then it's just a 4-inch line from the street to your house, pumping out your septic tank, crushing it, and filling it in with dirt.
Those are all elements of the lot cost.
That's the lot cost.
Yeah, just one recommendation, when you put the cul-de-sac in Beachcomber Lane, put a sign about every 5 feet that says no parking.
Because they will park.
Or just, we'll tow you.
I'm very sensitive to that. I can tell you we're going to be addressing that. Signage. Not inappropriate signage, aesthetically pleasing, but
Just on this cost again, on the financing option, you can finance the assessment, but the lot cost of the tax.
You cannot. You have to pay. That's the same one I got, so yours good.
But what can you finance?
You can finance the assessment, and we do allow the financing of the impact fee.
But the lot cost is coming out.
Correct. Because it's an improvement on private property, and we can't pay for that. Yeah.
This construction funding was included in our total options. Should we relocate the lots, or is there a arrangement that we can make?
Usually the contractor will relocate them. It depends on what everybody wants. I've seen in the past where they relocate them back. I've seen where they move them all down to A1A. And they're all right there so that and you pick it up as you go home. So that'll kind of be a discussion, I think, that, Jim will have with the contractor as to what's the best in the, yeah. Yeah.
thank you, sir.
So the cul-de-sac will remain in the town, right? It will not go back right now.
So we discussed a couple different, the question on this point, folks, the question that we have here is the cul-de-sac on Beachcomber Lane. We did discuss basically a hammerhead or a T-turnaround. Really, in the end, the cul-de-sac is just more convenient than just essentially having a T at the end where many cars will just be able to turn as opposed to have to make a 3-point turn based on the size. And we probably had more discussions with our engineers than they would like about which way to go with this piece, but in the end, we think that'll resolve the concerns that we had about that.
I have a question that's a little off topic, but I have lived on overhead, and then the other one, that great big, one sign down the road, huge Beachcomber Lane, which is drawn. I can guarantee that's why we have more traffic, because it looks like it's a beach access, which I know it is, but it's not. People think they can go down there and turn around, and there are no connecting roads, as we all know. So that is a big problem. Is there any way we can have that big sign?
That sign is DOT. Yeah, that's DOT. And in fact, unfortunately, we had someone actually vandalize the sign, went out there and put tape over the Beachcomber Lane piece. And we got that. Yeah. So, yeah, and so again, folks, yeah, excuse me, folks, just what I wanted to note was that regarding the access, the signage is DOT. A lot of that has to do, believe it or not, as with a lot of other things, funding, notice, public parking, public beach access, and the town's obligations to the road. I'm really sympathetic with it, I really am, and believe me, we will do signage-wise and enforcement-wise, everything we can to address that.
And there was talk at one time of trying to privatize that road, but that is totally illegal, right?
Well, let's put it this way, the town would not, in the end, the town would not want to do that or accept dedicating the road back as a private road, because that's our public beach access, so it's got to be a public road.
But it's not ever meant to be an access for people to drive down.
Well, and here's the nuance.
Parking here and walking.
I am completely sympathetic with your position, but it's a public road, and anyone is allowed to drive down that road. And
All to the road and I drive it.
and that's why we're trying to resolve that issue with the cul-de-sac. But again, there's a lot of other items relative to funding and municipal operations in order to maintain that. And I'm appreciative of it, believe me, and we're going to work with the best we can with that. Yes, sir.
Actually, what might be great to prevent that kind of thing is put a turnaround capability foot somewhere, and right by A1A. Because we get that all the time. People come in, people turn in there, and what they really want to do is turn around. And they turn in there, and it's really hard for them to turn around and from the other side.
We do see that a lot. The issue with that is the traffic coming in off the road and having to turn around and essentially concurrent with the state road. We have certain obligations relative to the state too, because that's something we don't control. Yes, ma'am, anything else? Yes.
As far as financing the lot costs, a lot of contractors are offering different funding companies that we work with as far as in-house expenses as well.
Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
There are any plans to date to develop the two parcels, the two commercial parcels?
The one that the town building department has received nothing as I stand here today relative to plans for plan review, site plan, anything for changing zoning, nothing like that.
Okay, so.
The only thing the town's been able to do is been able to get the old building off and get it.
Which I'm thankful, but grateful for that in a long time. So, when this plan is in place, should they come back and try to put another commercial building there? You were not here at the time, I don't believe, but there was already a problem with getting traffic in and out. They had 45 parking spaces, 43, 45 parking spaces allotted that were going to be coming in and out of Beachcomber and Sunrise, most of Beachcomber. So how are we going to, is there something the town is doing in conjunction with the owners of that property so they understand that they can, or can they still develop that and have 40-some-odd parking spaces?
So I've been in communication with the owner of the property, really primarily as it relates to getting that building off and stuff like that. I promise you to step up quick, but you're all here. So any development would have to be submitted to the township. Have to go to the building department. If there are any variances or changes or anything like that, it might have to go through our planning, zoning, and variance board, and then ultimately be approved by the town council. If there are any major variances that are sought, questions associated with the in and out on Beachcomber and on Sunrise are concerns that I have as well. And I think that when you look at most of the commercial areas around, it makes logical sense to have the entrance on A1A as opposed to a residential road. But those are things that would have to be addressed at the time that we get a plan, because we don't know what the plan is right now.
Maybe you could suggest not doing it as a part of the town.
How many? Does anybody have, send this way? No, you're,
So off of the curb will come into your driveway 5 feet with the horn. So, yeah, it's a driveway. So what we were proposing, if you have pavers, the contractor will remove the pavers, grade it, and reset the pavers. If they have a concrete driveway, we'll put in a concrete apron, asphalt, and then, the same with like a gravel driveway. We'd look at putting in a concrete apron. We would try to mimic, you keep the same width, you try to mimic the same flares that you have. Yes.
It's mainly to get the grade right again.
Correct.
So the road elevation may change slightly, so no matter what you do, the driveways are never going to match up to a new road. So they have to adjust that so that you get proper grade back out to the road.
Yes. There'll be, so currently there'll be 2 catch basins located near A1A. There's enough, slope in the existing topography from the beach to A1A where apparently we can put it to the road.
Could you repeat that? I can't hear you.
Sorry, so each road has 2 catch basins down by A1A. So they'll be on, yeah, over here.
That runs into a storm drain system?
Correct.
if there's no specific or narrow detailed questions, we have our boards up. If you're trying to locate your septic, that's great. If not, please don't hesitate. I'm here. Here's my contact information, email. If any questions, issues, problems, or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're going to try to communicate with everybody as much as possible. And I want to emphasize and thank our friends at the city and in particular Rob Bolton for helping us out and working on this project. It's going to be a great benefit to everybody on this road.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone very much.